The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke.
Glory to you, Lord.
While some people were speaking about how the temple was adorned with costly stones and votive offerings, Jesus said, "All that you see here, the days will come when there will not be left a stone upon another stone that will not be thrown down." Then they asked him, "Teacher, when will this happen? And what sign will there be when all these things are about to happen?" He answered, "See that you not be deceived, for many will come in my name, saying, 'I am he,' and 'the time has come.' Do not follow them. When you hear of wars and insurrections, do not be terrified, for such things must happen first, but it will not immediately be the end." Then he said to them, "Nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be powerful earthquakes, famines, and plagues from place to place, and awesome sights and mighty signs will come from the sky. Before all this happens, however, they will seize and persecute you. They will hand you over to the synagogues and to prisons, and they will have you led before kings and governors because of my name. It will lead to your giving testimony. Remember, you are not to prepare your defense beforehand, for I myself shall give you a wisdom in speaking, that all your adversaries will be powerless to resist or refute. You will even be handed over by parents, brothers, relatives, and friends, and they will put some of you to death. You will be hated by all because of my name, but not a hair on your head will be destroyed. By your perseverance, you will secure your lives." The Gospel of the Lord. What do today's readings speak about? Judgment, the end times. How many of you know the meaning of the word eschatology? Eschatology. Anybody? Out of 350 people, no one knows eschatology? The study of the end times. Thank you. The study of the end times. The word eschaton is a Greek word meaning the end times. The study of the end times. And that's what the readings today are about, the end times. And the first reading tells us specifically what's going to happen, that there will be judgment. The good will receive the ray of mercy, but the wicked will burn in fire. Jesus makes it real clear, God makes it real clear to tell us what to expect and what to prepare for so that we're not caught by surprise. That our actions today have consequences, have eternal consequences. We will be judged according to our deeds. We will be rewarded according to how we live. So there are consequences to our choices and our actions. And this should be of a wake-up call to all of us, but to many Christians, to many Catholics who never even think about the end times, who never think about judgment. That's not even in their vocabulary. That's not even on their radar. They don't think about that. But the Bible warns us, prepares us that there will be a judgment. All of us will have to stand before God when we die, and we have to give an account of our choices, our actions, and we will be held accountable. If we fear the Lord, if we do His will, if we do good, we'll be rewarded. If we do go against Him, if we do evil and sin, we will be punished. It's clear. So don't say that you were never warned. Don't say that you didn't know, because you know. And so to be prepared. And then there's another thing there that sometimes we're missing. That God is, that there's an emphasis, especially after Vatican II, there's an emphasis on God's mercy, which is good, but there's an overemphasis on God's mercy, and there's a lack of emphasis on His justice. We hear in the psalm reading, what did we sing, Chris, in the responsorial psalm? Anybody remember? God will come to rule with justice. God will come to rule with justice. And it even says that as well in the first reading, right? Those who fear God will receive the rays of justice. So yes, God is merciful, but he's also just. And that's where that justice comes in, is that one will receive what is in accord with his actions, right? There's justice. So God is just. So that's something we need to remember as well. Merciful and just. And so Jesus tells us too about the end times. And people ask him, well, when is this going to happen? And what signs will there be? And he speaks about, first he said, basically, don't worry about when it's going to happen, because you don't know when it's going to happen. There's another passage where he says that even the Son of Man does not know when it's going to happen. Only the Father knows. So he's basically telling us, don't worry about when it's going to happen. Just be prepared. Yes, there will be signs in the sky, and there will be all plagues and wars and things like that. But before that happens, something else is going to happen that's more important, that's more pertinent, that you should pay attention to. And what did he say? Before all that happens, you will be persecuted. You will be handed over. And this will lead to your giving testimony. So that's what we should focus on. That's what Jesus said we should focus on, is that expect to be persecuted. If you are faithful to me, then expect to be persecuted. And this will lead to you bearing witness to me, you giving testimony. So the question is, are we being persecuted? The question then is, if not, then are we playing it safe? Because if we are truly faithful to Jesus, we will be persecuted, even among family members. If we are really true to Jesus, then there should be some kind of conflict. There should be some kind of tension among our family members, even among friends and co-workers and so on. That's what Jesus is saying. If you are really true and faithful to me, expect conflict, division, tension, even in your family, in the workplace, and in the world. And if you're not experiencing that, then maybe you're playing it safe. Maybe you're not being faithful to me. Maybe you're just blending in with the crowd. And so he said that. And he said, expect it. And then he said, this is an opportunity to bear witness to me. It's an opportunity. So something evil leads to something good. For you to bear witness to me, to testify to me, to be faithful to me. And he said, don't worry. Not a hair on your head will be destroyed. Everything is under my providence. Everything is under my will, my protection. So don't worry. And don't even worry about what you are to say or prepare beforehand. I myself will give you the words to say that others cannot refute. And that's what Jesus is saying. This is how we are to live in this life. But before that, St. Paul speaks in the second reading. He also tells us how to prepare for the end times. What does he say? Back then, he was speaking to the Thessalonians, and he was troubled by the fact that some of them were not working. Some of them were freeloading from others. And he said, when I was with you, I could have demanded free food from you, but I didn't do that. We didn't do that because we wanted to give you an example. We worked hard, we toiled through drudgery and so on to be a model for you, to show you that you should work, contribute to the good of others. So back then, people were saying that they were saying that, yes, we should help each other. Those who are in need should receive help from those who have a surplus. But then there was a group of people that were taking advantage of all that. Instead of working, instead of contributing to the good of the whole, they were just leeching from other people. And St. Paul says that's not acceptable. If anyone who is unwilling to work, neither should that person eat. If anyone is unwilling to work, neither should that person eat. That's St. Paul, right? And so looking at our society today, do these words still apply to us? I see a lot of employers, business owners, having a hard time finding workers. Seems like a lot of people don't want to work. A lot of people would rather have a handout instead of working. Right? People are either unemployed or underemployed with a lack of motivation, a lack of desire to use their skills, to use their talents, to develop them for their own good and the good of others and the glory of God. There's a sense of entitlement, that I'm entitled to be given things rather than to work for them instead. So I think St. Paul would say the same thing today. He would say those who are unwilling to work should not eat. And that's how God is too, right? He's given us all these skills, these opportunities, these resources, and he wants us to develop them so that we may become to fully actualize our full potential. And then to become the person that God created us to be, but also to do good for others. There's so much good that we can do, so much potential that we have. And God wants us to develop those skills for his glory and for the common good. Now, how many parents and grandparents do we have here, right? Now, don't you want your children and grandchildren to fully develop their skills, their abilities, their talents, to become, to actualize, to become the person that they can be, right? And then to give back and to contribute to the good of others. And how do you feel when they don't do that, when they underperform, when there's a lack of motivation, when they don't use their skills, their talents, and develop them? You're disappointed, aren't you? And so it is with God. All of us are his children. He's given us so many gifts, so many abilities, so many talents, opportunities to do good for ourselves and others. And when we don't do them, he is disappointed. And that's what St. Paul is saying. Work. And then he also speaks about not being idle, because then these people who don't work are minding the business of others. Do you know the saying, idleness is the devil's playground? Idleness is the devil's playground. If you're not busy doing something good, you're going to end up doing something bad. People who are bored and have nothing to do, they tend to lead to something that's not good. And we see there's a lot of idleness out there. People who waste so much time watching TV, watching Netflix, watching YouTube, being on social media, playing video games. They're not developing their skills. They're not glorifying God. They're not helping others. So idleness leads to sin, leads to evil, leads to destruction. And that's what St. Paul speaks about. That's what God doesn't like as well. And we see so much of that nowadays. Idleness, distraction, underperformance, a lack of motivation, a lack of work ethic. And so that's how we are to prepare to work, because life is short. Time is fleeting. We want to do what we can while we're still on this earth to develop our skills, to contribute to the good of others, and for the glory of God. And that's what St. Paul speaks about, and that's what Jesus speaks about. Bear witness to him. Be faithful to him, and work for the kingdom of God and the salvation of souls.